And of course, Sophie, as you speak about President Ruto, for example, one looks at his rise to power. It makes for interesting reading, with some also at that point describing his relationship with Uhuru Kenyatta as acrimonious. This is a man you would have spoken to a number of times.
Yes, you'd recall in 2013 when he became the Vice President of Kenya, I did speak to him at length in terms of the challenges in Kenya. As you know that before those elections, the elections that preceded the 2013 elections were marred by violence, and therefore I was talking to him, asking him that as the Vice President, what is he going to do to support the President at that time, the President-elect, that is Uhuru Kenyatta, to unite Kenya. As you know that there was a tense relationship between President Uhuru Kenyatta at that time and the leader of the opposition, Raila Odinga, and William Ruto, before joining Uhuru Kenyatta, was working with Raila Odinga, and therefore I was asking him about that. And when he took power in 2022, we saw that tension continuing, but in the latter years of Raila Odinga, we saw them amending the relations. You'd recall Kenya even put up the name of the late Raila Odinga to be a candidate for the AU Commission chair. And that was a moment where many people believed that they were trying to mend the relations. And therefore, him coming into power, it became almost like a turning point in terms of the history of Kenya, moving away from your normal known families like your Raila Odinga family or the Kenyatta family. And therefore, that was really a turning moment for Kenya. But unfortunately, you know that there were protests in that country, young people not happy when challenges of cost of living took root, and therefore there was that acrimonious relationship with some youth in the country. And therefore even now, you know that a few days ago, a decision by America to set up a facility, military facility, to receive patients who are suspected to have contracted Ebola in Kenya, that has led also to some tension in that country, particularly after the court in that country ruled that that shouldn't happen. And therefore, in his leadership, there has been a lot of challenges. But I spoke to him during the France-Africa Summit. The question was around his views, because there were criticism that we can't have this situation, one country calling all African leaders to converge and talk about the future of Africa as if it's a region. And therefore him saying that going forward, there's no way Africa will be dictated to, and as the current leadership, they are going to ensure that it is Africa first. So I think it's some of the issues that President Cyril Ramaphosa and President William Ruto will discuss in terms of what can be done to build a better Africa, not necessarily only the relationship between the two countries, but also the regional politics, the global politics. And with President Ruto going to this G7, President Ramaphosa might have a word or two in terms of his views around Africa and the relationship with the G7 member countries.
And of course, you mentioned that issue of Ebola there, you know, that's that medical center, and something that he has vehemently defended. You know, also at the same time, you think about those Gen Z protests, as you've touched on, which is something that also brought his leadership into much scrutiny when it comes to many people on the country. These are two heads of state, Sophie, who are meeting at a time when they are both facing their own challenges, you know, at home. How much of this also becomes a talking point around this visit? Yes, we know 28 agreements, for example, and memoranda of understanding signed in various fields, but can the issues that are also surrounding them be spoken of at this time?
Well, I think when you look at the issue of Ebola in particular, I think the two leaders will discuss the issue of Ebola because you know that President Ramaphosa has been appointed by the African Union to look into issues that are related to health not only in South Africa but on the